Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Noelle and I review and unbox subscription boxes here on my channel, and for the past couple of months I've been taking a lot of you on a journey with me as I try to get caught up on several book box subscriptions. So I am pretty much caught up on Once Upon a Book Club because I stopped my subscription back in February. I am still slowly getting through all of my Down the Rabbit Hole book boxes because they continue to be sent to me for review and for photography. So it's kind of an interesting experience because a lot of the times I've actually seen the items in the box so I could take photos, and then it's now that I'm actually getting to read the books and understand why those items were included in the box. So this is what the box looks like. I always love the box. I think it is beautiful, and it is $49.99 per month. That does include the shipping in the US, and of course I do have a link and a code for you. The code is Noelle15 and that will save you 15%. I really enjoyed this read. Now it has been kind of overwhelming basically reading a dark book every single week. I'm very much looking forward to that slowing down in the new year, where it will probably be every other week and then hopefully just once a month, along with those of you who are subscribed to the subscription. But it has been a challenge, and some of the books have just been really surprisingly engrossing, particularly this one that I have to share with you today. So this was actually the May book box, and it was a book called Paper Ghost by Julia Haberlin, which I'd never read her before, even though of course it says that she's, you know, national bestseller. Just had never read her before. We got a nice hardcover. It did have a remainder mark on it. I don't care about that. I really enjoyed it because I am one of those people that is kind of fascinated with true crime and serial killers, and this did sort of delve into that. It wasn't really gory. I'm not into horror or things that have a lot of violence, even though there have been some reads that are like that. But I did also really like the gifts as well, which are really fun to experience. Sometimes it's a very loose interpretation of something from the pages of the book, and sometimes it is like spot on. So one of the other things that I did notice as I was going through this book is that a lot of times they will include some extra items, like some bookish items, like a bookmark, or, you know, something to enjoy along with your read, like some tea or some cookies or something, and a Spotify playlist. Now, one of the characters in this book is a photographer, a really well-known photographer, but also suspected serial killer, and so there was a playlist with it that said "The Camera Never Lies." So I figured that that was actually the correct one, but then I realized that "The Camera Never Lies" was actually the hint or the theme for the next month's box that is also about a photographer. So I'm not sure if it was meant to be listened to for both books. I guess you could, because then I thought, oh, maybe I just put it into the wrong box, and I went to the next month's box and that had the same playlist in it. So I'm not totally sure, but I kind of feel like it works. So the actual theme for this month's book, May, was Riding with the Devil, because indeed it was very much a road trip between this suspected serial killer and famed photographer and a woman who thinks that he killed her sister. So I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I really enjoyed it. There were some elements that I thought were a little bit hokey, mostly in the construction of the book, because there were some pages, I'll show you later on, where they actually had, like, you know, a notepad sheet or from a journal or from a letter or from a list, and I thought that was a little bit hokey. I did like that they included some black and white photographs to be kind of evocative along with the beginning of each chapter. I don't know, for some reason when books have a lot of pictures and like kind of add that element of showing like notebook pages, for some reason to me, I don't know, it just feels like it makes it feel more like a young adult novel. I don't know. Let me know what you think about stuff like this, or if you just really like it because it kind of makes it more realistic. All right, so one of the things that we do get, of course, is this little brochure, which I love that she features the author. Again, it is Julia Haberlin. I hope I'm saying that right, and that's a picture of her. And so it says, Haberlin is the author of the international bestseller Black-Eyed Susans, which I have heard of, but I have not read it. And We Are All the Same in the Dark. She worked in features as an award-winning editor at the Detroit News, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and the Dallas Morning News. Julia's psychological thrillers, all set in her home state, have sold to more than 20 countries She does live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where she is at work on her next novel. Now, this is very much a love letter to Texas. We started in Galveston, we ended up in Austin, there was times where they were in Marfa. It also had a lot of very contemporary pop culture references to different TV shows, music, and I actually really liked that. I liked that it had this very modern contemporary setting, and I could see it being a great movie. I know I've said that for a lot of these books, but I could see it being a great movie. So what I do in these unboxings is I'll go ahead and read the blurb that's on the back or on the inside jacket, so you kind of get an idea of the storyline, and you can decide if you want to add this book to your own TBR pile. Of course, I think a lot of you like to go ahead and add to that, at least mentally or on a little sheet of paper. And then I will go through the passages that are associated with the gifts that come in the box, so there will be spoilers in terms of the gifts, but for the most part, the passages aren't going to give anything away really with the storyline, which did have some twists and turns. I am admittedly one of those people who was kind of fascinated by serial killers and true crime, even though there were some things that were sort of, she definitely did some research for this, which I appreciated, and let's go ahead and get into it so you guys can listen and hear for yourself. An obsessive young woman has been waiting half her life, since she was 12 years old, for this moment. She has planned, researched, trained, imagined every scenario. Now she is almost certain the man who kidnapped and murdered her sister sits in the passenger seat beside her. Carl Lewis Feldman is a documentary photographer who may or may not have dementia and may or may not be a serial killer. The young woman claims to be his long-lost daughter. He doesn't believe her. He claims no memory of murdering girls across Texas in a string of places where he shot eerie pictures. She doesn't believe him. Determined to find the truth, she lures him out of a halfway house and proposes a dangerous idea. A 10-day road trip, just the two of them, to examine cold cases linked to his haunting photographs. Is he a liar or a broken old man? Is he a pathological con artist or is she? In Paper Ghost, Julia Heberlin once again swerves the serial killer genre in a new direction. With taut, captivating prose, Heberlin deftly explores the ghosts that live in our minds and the ones that stare back from photographs. You won't see the final terrifying twist spinning your way until the very last mile. So yes, a lot does happen at the end. There were definitely some surprises for me that I kind of knew that he may or may not be responsible for every single girl that she thinks that he is responsible for, but they were both flawed characters, and the way that we find out whether he's guilty or innocent, and there's a little of both, were very interesting storylines that all sort of came together. The one storyline that didn't come together was sort of the romantic interest, and I didn't think that necessarily furthered anything. It was kind of a red herring, but at the same time, I really liked Carl. I found him to be a very likable character. I feel like that's kind of the thing with serial killers. They have that sort of persona that just draws you in, and not saying he's a serial killer, allegedly, but I did find him to be a very likable character who in my mind had a little bit of a Texan accent. So there were 5 gifts in this one, pretty well spread out for the most part. We didn't have anything in the 200s, but we did have one starting on page 36, which is this is what it looks like when you find your gift, the little sticky note that tells you. So I will read the passage and then tell you all about it. Now, I don't think there were any extra gifts in this particular box. Like I said, sometimes we do get little extras, but I think that I've so much conflated the 2 boxes that came in a row, the May and June boxes. So you'll see those items if they were supposed to be in the May box with the June box. So it says, when I lift the lid of my suitcase, I choke down a scream. Carl has left me a present. Lying on top, the scarf that was wrapped around Lolita's pretty neck at Mrs. T's. For seconds, I don't breathe. The pink and white snails march innocently across the fabric, their smiles like tiny eyelash curls. I remember another piece of fabric, swirling in water in one of Carl's photographs, a missing girl named Violet. My head jerks toward the door that connects my room to Carl's, chain in place, knob still. When I turn back to my suitcase, Lolita's sweet, youthful smell drifts up, and with it a silent panic prayer that she's alive, that I have not stirred up a hibernating killer. So Lolita is this girl that also visits the halfway house, and she's always noticed this scarf, and she's on the beginning of this road trip, and she notices that Carl has swiped the scarf and given it to her as a gift, but it's very very ominous in that fact. So I was a little worried that we were going to get a snail scarf, because I was like, I don't know that I need a snail scarf. So it came in this little black box. And we got a very pretty scarf. So here's an example of where I think it's really fun. The interpretation, it's not too literal, which is great. Let me see if I can get it open. So it came all kind of crumpled up, but it was actually a really pretty springy scarf, which was appropriate, of course, for the month of May when we got this box. So lovely little silky kind of scarf, kind of two-toned. And on one side, let's see what it says. It says, like summer, like rain, like summer. So it just has a little quote. So I guess it could be for summer as well, but it's that nice thin material and also a nice thin design where you could easily just make this a fashion scarf, kind of like a loose necklace, or you could use it as a headband or put it up in your ponytail, or really easy to make this a bag charm and just tie a big floppy bow on your bag. So that's what I would probably use it for, in all honesty, but I just did think this was a nice quality, silky, smooth scarf. Sometimes the quality of items in book boxes isn't like super high because, again, they're giving you like a bunch of gifts as well as a book. But this one was actually really nice. I thought that was really pretty. All right, the next one was on page 94, so not too long after. And this is what I was talking about. So it's throughout we get little snippets of her survival notebook, because she's constantly been trying to get over her fears even before her sister was disappeared, basically. So we get those along with title, sort of the captions underneath Carl's photographs. So this sticky was on her survival notebook at age 9. So again, that's before her sister disappeared. It says, "How not to be afraid of falling in a grave," which one of the opening images is them playing in a graveyard and her sister falling in a grave. "Watch out for holes. 2, don't step on mushy ground. 3, carry a loud whistle. 4, bring goldfish crackers just in case. 5, don't talk to the ghosts." So this is what it looks like. This is the kind of thing I'm just like not super into. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. But let's go ahead and find out. I was kind of hoping we'd get goldfish crackers, honestly, since she said that. But we didn't. We didn't get goldfish crackers, which is fine because it would have been a long time since I got around to opening this box. So this is what gift 2 looks like. It's just in a little mailer bag. And what do we got? Oh, we got a notebook, and this is a really pretty one from Christian Lacroix. So let me open it. It came in plastic. This was a really good box in terms of the gifts, I thought. At least a very strong start. So it's this really nice, it kind of has some texture. You can see it's almost like engraved or embossed in this very bright red with this nice sort of chevron elastic closure. It's called the Paseo in scarlet. It has a 152 ruled pages with a ribbon marker and an elastic closure. So that's what it looks like on the interior. It has that matching ribbon marker right here, you guys can see, in that same black and white. But I do like Christian Lacroix stationery items. I don't necessarily need it to be branded Christian Lacroix at the bottom of every page like it is, but that's okay. It's pretty wide ruled, but we got a nice notebook. So I don't know that this would have been her age 9 survival notebook. I probably would have had more like cutesy stuff going on with it. Actually, maybe not for Grace, but and what's really interesting, you guys, is I did give you one spoiler. Her name is Grace, which honestly you don't find out until much later in the book, because she is constantly trying to change her appearance and using other identities because she's really planned out this road trip to confront Carl and find out the truth. But this, I'd rather have this much more adult, elegant notebook than obviously the one that a 9-year-old might have had. All right, let's see what else we've got. Try not to make a mess. So the next one wasn't until about 100 pages later on 189. So let's see if I can show you this one. 189, I did really think that the descriptions of the photographs, which are very eerie, not the actual photographs because we don't get those, we get like those evocative ones at the beginning of the chapters, but I did think that the descriptions of them and Carl's sort of pontificating about them were very, very eerie and poetic at the same time, and you could totally kind of imagine the style of photography that was very in vogue for quite a while. All right, so here is gift number 3 on, like I said, page 189. A framed copy of The Drowning photo hangs in one of the most ghost-infested suites at the Galvez. Shops on the historic Strand still hawk postcards of it. It's one ghost and 1,000 ghosts that walk this precarious slot of land. I wonder if Carl still collects royalties or if he just doesn't remember where the check goes. During one of my dark web crawls, I stumbled across an original signed print of The Drowning for sale on a site that mostly specializes in ultra-gruesome serial killer trading cards. How does that kind of collecting even work? I'll give you a Jeffrey Dahmer and a Ted Bundy for your Green River Killer. How would Carl rank if everyone knew the truth? And I do think that is true. Now, you guys know I love my true crime podcasts. I do find all those documentaries very interesting, although I didn't watch the last one that was really popular. But at the same time, there is something very cringy about making them celebrities and the people who sort of idolize them, and of course all the people who collect serial killer memorabilia. I do find that really creepy and I'm not into it. So gift number 3, I was like, please don't have a fake serial killer memorabilia. Instead, we got a pin. Now, pins are definitely something that are a constant feature of book boxes. We've gotten some really cool custom ones for our Down the Rabbit Hole book box, and this is one that is for Down the Rabbit Hole. It's Paper Ghost, Riding with the Devil, again, is of course the theme, and it says, let's talk about serial killers. Let's talk about serial killers. So we have these lips, and I think that is kind of cool, especially if you are into true crime podcasts. So I didn't mind that at all, and it wasn't actually glorifying a particular one or a fictional one either. All right, next we have, not again for over 100 pages, not until 326. So 326. So you see, I'm not giving anything away. I do suggest this book. Some of the books that I've read in the last couple of months have been pretty intense, but this one is pretty good. All right, let's see. It's such a clever damn thing, Carl had enthused. At first, I thought he was talking about the phone. He was referring to the killer trumpet, which lures insects down a long, tall chute that is like a vase for its sweet nectar. The insects either drown in the water that collects at the bottom or exhaust themselves, struggling to climb out the slippery sides. Their dead bodies are liquefied by enzymes, Carl informed me, just wiped off the planet like they never existed. It made me imagine the inside of his well in the piney woods, a basin of green soup with walls cloaked in slime, impossible to scramble up. It reminded me that serial killers have been part of evolution for millions of years. It's a condition, he had demanded angrily when I said no. Your conditions are closed, I replied firmly, until I know what happened to my sister. So he has a list of conditions for him to go along with this journey. So he's now saying that this is a new condition, and he keeps adding to it, and she keeps kind of going along because she thinks she's getting somewhere. All right, gift number 4 is a book. Now, I'm not always into getting books within book boxes, but this one is kind of cool because it's a nonfiction book. It is called Evil, The Science Behind Humanity's Dark Side by Julia Shaw, which does sound like an interesting read. So it says, let's see. What is it about evil that we find so compelling? From our obsession with serial killers to violence in pop culture, we seem inescapably drawn to the stories of monstrous acts and the aberrant people who commit them. But evil, Dr. Julia Shaw argues, is largely subjective. What one may consider normal, like sex before marriage, eating meat, or working on Wall Street, others find abhorrent. And if evil is only in the eye of the beholder, can it be said to exist at all? In Evil, Shaw uses an engrossing mix of science, popular culture, and real-life examples to break down timely and provocative issues. How similar is your brain to a psychopath's? How many people have murder fantasies? Can artificial intelligence be evil? Do your sexual proclivities make you a bad person? Who becomes a terrorist? If you could travel back in time, would you kill baby Hitler? In asking these questions, Shaw urges readers to discover empathy and to rethink and reshape what it means to be bad. Evil is a wide-ranging exploration into a fascinating, darkly compelling subject from a wickedly smart and talented writer. So this sounds good to me, you guys. In terms of getting a book that is related to what's going on in the novel, I mean, she could have selected any page number almost for that one, but I did really like that. So, all right, and then our final one came really towards the end. There has been, this is almost in the denouement, if you will, where a lot of things have sort of been settled. There's still a little bit of mystery going on, and there probably always will be. Right after the service, I searched Carl's room. He had duct taped his 5-line will witnessed by Mrs. T to the back of his headboard. There were 2 things stapled to the piece of notebook paper: a Ziploc bag that held Nicole Lekinski's silver owl pinky ring, and a deed still in his aunt's name. He had left that dark, wild piece of woods to me. So there's still some mystery. We don't know. Why does he have Nicole Lekinski's ring? So inside, of course, we have her ring, which is kind of looks like a class ring to me, almost, but then I realized that it is kind of this creepy owl with these glowing red eyes. But a fun little jewelry piece, kind of dark, a little bit of a dark academia vibe. I thought this was a kind of cool gift to end with. You guys let me know in the comments below if you've read any of her other books. I thought this was really good. I'm very intrigued and ready to read another one, and honestly, I thought this was a really solid book box in terms of the gifts, with the scarf, the book, the pin, and of course this really cool ring and the journal. You guys let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, help me out with a thumbs up, and I'll see you all very, very soon in my next unboxing.